Everybody. Welcome to our summer solstice ritual. Take the dream and make it real. I'm really delighted to have you all here. Um, this is a benefit for Earth Activist Training, which is our organization that teaches permaculture and regenerative design with a grounding in spirit and a focus on organizing and activism. And I am here in Yalamu, San Francisco, the traditional lands of the Ramaytush Ohlone, with my dear friend Evely Delfino Salas. Posh, I'll say it wrong, right? I'm really grateful we can be together and sing and drum together for you, and that we can all be together in this somewhat strange technological form. And we're going to go right into ritual. Um, so let me just say again that I want to acknowledge the indigenous people of this land, the Ramaytush Ohlone, acknowledge that they have tended the land for tens of thousands of years, really elegantly and carefully. And that it is my hope that the work that we do and the energy we raise can be in accordance with that heritage of caring for the land. I want to acknowledge also there's a heritage here of colonization and exploitation of the land and of the people, from the missions and the enslavement of the indigenous people to the African Americans who were brought here and enslaved, to the Chinese who were brought here to this part of the world to build the railroads, to sexually service the workers, to the land that was exploited in the gold rush and all of the peoples that came for that, to the people of Latino and Hispanic heritage. But I also want to acknowledge that all of those different peoples are still here, including the indigenous people, and are still bringing with them a heritage of wisdom and beauty and art and resilience and culture. And that's part of the mix that makes this part of the world so rich and so diverse and such an exciting place to live in. And I welcome you all to join us. I'm really grateful myself to be able to live here as a guest on this land. And as I said, I hope the work we do furthers the growth and the resilience and the regeneration of the life and the land and the environment. Let's take a breath and ground. So get yourself settled, get your feet on the ground. Take some deep breaths in and out. Imagine yourself like a tree with roots that go down into the earth. As you breathe in and breathe out, you can feel them push down through all the different layers of soil and mud and rock, all the way down to that fire in the heart of the earth. And if there's something you want to release and let go of, just take a deep breath and let it go into that fire. And breathing deep again, maybe draw a little spark of that fire up. Draw it up through all those layers of soil, all that water that's held under the earth, all those layers of rock, and up into your own feet and legs, up into the base of your spine and your belly, up into your heart, And just take a moment, bathe your heart. Let your heart just get really full with all of that beautiful earth energy. And draw it up and out the top of your head. Like leaves and branches, and feel the sunlight on those leaves and branches. Take a deep breath, draw that in, breathe that down. Feed on it, just like a tree feeds on sunlight. Breathe it down into your heart, your hands, and your belly, down through your legs and feet, into the earth. As you breathe in and breathe out, just feel that energy coming up and through you and down and through you. And now we're grounded.
Blessed be.
Blessed be. And Charles, would you like to cast our circle?
I'd love to. I invite you all to help cast our circle. This is where we acknowledge the space that we're in and we connect with one another. So I invite you all to reach out wherever north is for you. And just reach out and maybe look that direction if there's a window, or imagine through your wall, but reach to the direction it's to the north. And just feel what the energy of our north is. And we're going to acknowledge the space, around us. So acknowledging the north, just envisioning what that looks like. Maybe you get to see it, maybe you can't. Let's swing around to the east where the sun rises. Imagining or seeing or looking at down to the south. What's on the horizon around us here in the south. Going around to the west and to the north. Just acknowledge the space that we inhabit right here, right now. And let's push some of that out to above, like a dome over top of ourselves. And let that dome expand out so it bumps into the other domes that are on this call with us tonight, on this event tonight with us. And let those domes match and mix and mingle to make a big dome around us all. And let's settle it down below us to make a bottom and make a sphere and connect to all those that are around the world below us too. And in that big glowing sphere that encompasses everybody who's sitting here with us right now, say welcome to our circle. Welcome tonight.
Welcome to our circle. And thank you, Charles. Charles is our co-director and co-teacher of Earth Activist Training. And I don't know what we'd do without him. I am, as you probably have guessed, since my birthday's tomorrow, a Gemini. Charles, fortunately, is a Virgo, and I'll tell you, every Gemini can use a good Virgo to keep it all together. As well as being brilliant and being inspiring. So now that we have our circle, we're going to call in the elements with a song. This is a song, I originally wrote the verse for City of Refuge, which is the sequel to The Fifth Sacred Thing. But Everly has added some beautiful verses, and it speaks to the four elements in the four directions.
Lay down your burdens, lay down your troubles too. Don't blame yourself for the hands you lost when the deck was stacked against you. Be kissed by air, be cleansed by fire, be healed by water, be fed by earth, and open your hearts to your own desire. the tree of the sacred heart. Lay down your burdens, lay down your troubles too. Don't blame yourself for the heavy cost of bringing peace to the wars around you. Be kissed by air, be kissed by air, be cleansed by fire, be healed by water, be fed by earth, and open your hearts to your own desire at the tree of the sacred heart. Lay down your burdens, lay down your troubles too. Don't blame yourself for being tossed wretchedly by the storm around you. Be kissed by air, be cleansed by fire, be healed by water, be fed by earth, and open your hearts to your own desire at the tree of the sacred heart. Be kissed by air, be cleansed by fire, be healed by water, be fed by earth, and open your hearts to your own desire at the tree of the sacred heart. Lay down your burdens, lay down your burdens, lay down.
Welcome air, welcome fire, welcome water, welcome earth. And to welcome spirit, we have something very precious and beautiful. It's a dance, a video by Zana Simon, who's one of our Earth Activist Training students, is one of our diversity students who is a deaf dancer and director of the Deaf Dance Festival here in San Francisco. And it was a really wonderful experience a few years back when we were able to have 4 deaf students in one of our in-person courses. And one of the things we are really committed to in Earth Activist Training is all kinds of accessibility, including accessibility for the deaf and hard of hearing communities. So we really feel very blessed to have this beautiful gift of spirit from Zana. Welcome, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. And thank you, Zana, for that beautiful dance. And this is the eve of the summer solstice. So it's a powerful time, a time when it's like the sun reaches peak and all the forces of life, of growth, the flowers are blooming, everything's burgeoning. And it's a time when I think it's like a time of manifestation, of bringing your visions to realization. And when we were thinking about this, we realized that it has been 30 years since the Fifth Sacred Thing was published. It was the book I wrote back in the 80s and 90s. It was published in the 90s, but it took me a while to write it. And in the Fifth Sacred Thing, I was really struggling with this question of how does a peaceful society respond to violence without becoming what you're fighting against? And so I envisioned Northern California becoming a place that was full of beauty and balance and just, a love for diversity and harmony with the earth and embracing all the different rainbows of genders and sexual orientations and heritages and backgrounds and all of that, and making it work in a world which was suffering a lot from environmental degradation and climate change and collapse. And at the same time, Southern California had gone the opposite direction. And so a lot of the book centers around how they fight without themselves becoming what you have to become in order to wield violence. So I wanted to invoke in the spirit of summer solstice some of the vision from the book, and I'm going to read you just a couple short passages. At the beginning, Maya, who's the old crone and the old wise woman, is up on the top of the hill overlooking the city where all the different religions have come together to honor the festival of Lammas, of the crone, of the reaper, and to honor the 20th anniversary of their uprising and their establishment of this beautiful culture. And he says, "This moon brings a time of hope and danger, fire season. We watch the dry hills anxiously, knowing that the rains are weeks or months away. Those of us who are old have seen fire destroy our drought-baked cities and smoke eclipse the sun. We've seen rich croplands shrivel into glass-hard deserts and the earth itself collapse on its emptied water table. We've seen diseases claim our children and our lovers and our neighbors. We know it can happen again. We hope for a harvest, we pray for rain, but nothing is certain. We say that the harvest will only be abundant if the crops are shared, that the rains will not come unless water is conserved and shared and respected. We believe we can continue to live and thrive only if we care for one another. This is the age of the reaper, when we inherit 5,000 years of postponed results, the fruits of our callousness toward the earth and toward other human beings. But at last, we have come to understand that we are part of the earth, part of the air, the fire, and the water, as we are part of one another. We were hungry, so very hungry, for a long time, while we waited for the seeds to grow and prayed for rain and danced for rain. It was a long, dry season, but we had pledged to feed one another's children first with what food we had and to share what we had. And so the food we shared became sacred to us, and the water and the air and the earth became sacred. When something is sacred, it can't be bought or sold. It is beyond price, and nothing that might harm it is worth doing. What is sacred becomes the measure by which everything is judged. And this is our measure and our vow to the life-renewing rain. We will not be wasters, but healers. We've come here to give an accounting of ourselves, calling on the four sacred things to witness what we have made of this city in 20 years, said Salal from the Central Council. This is how we have kept our pledges. This is what we have harvested. As the talking stick passed around the circle, each person spoke in turn, from the Gardeners' Guild and the Water Council and the healers and the teachers and all the interlocking circles that provided for the needs of the city. No one in this city goes hungry. No one lacks shelter. No child lacks a home. There is sickness here, but no one lacks care. See, the fruit hangs heavy on the bough, ready to feed the stranger. We have guarded our waters well. Our cisterns will not run dry. No one thirsts, and our streams run clear. All the gifts of the earth are shared. So that's the vision. I dedicate it to the ancestors because I know that all of us, whoever we are, have ancestors who shared that vision, who shared that understanding that in a healthy world, no child lacks a home, no one goes hungry. I dedicate it to the memory of Daniel Ellsberg, who I understand today has joined the ancestors. He was a courageous man who revealed some of the great secrets of the Vietnam War, risked life in prison. Fortunately, didn't have to spend his life in prison, but spent it working for peace. I met him when we were working in the anti-nuclear movement, and he's someone who inspired me in so many ways and who I honor. So, Daniel, in love, may you return again. Blessed be. And I dedicate it to the descendants, to those who come after us, because that is the vision that I think we all need to hold, to have a world that the descendants can come into and grow and thrive. Blessed be. So that's the vision. We wanted to share with you some of those people who are making it real. I'm going to start with the wonderful and amazing and inspiring Wanda Stewart, who has been working in so many ways with young people all of her life and with urban gardens and fruit tree planting, and she's going to share some of the work that she's been doing.
Happy birthday, Starhawk.
Thank you.
First of all, hi everybody. I am really honored to be here, and it may be my most favorite title ever for something I've been asked to speak on. What an honor to be called Making It Real. And I do want to tell you a real quick story about what's possible. Very much like the fifth sacred thing, when people tend the earth together across all culture and difference with love and respect for one another. So I took the Earth Activist Training course as one of those diversity students in 2014. And then shortly thereafter discovered myself tending a school garden. This is the speed version in West Oakland. And, you know, at the time we called West Oakland a food desert. It's not quite like that anymore, but it was a little back in the day. So I grew a 100-foot by 100-foot in-ground permaculture garden with the help of 300 kindergarten through 5th grade students. And when I was asked to take the job, the principal said, and this was about 2016, the principal said, I want you to do a garden and keep the kids occupied when their teachers have their prep time. Said, okay, what do you want in your garden? She said, I don't know. I said, but for real, you got to give me some. What do you want in your garden? And she said, food. These kids really need food. And that was the same week, my first week, when a 1st grader threw a chair at a wall across the room. And when I said, baby, why did you do that? He looked at me and without thinking said, because I'm hungry. And that is when we got to building this garden. And I promised those children that trusted me with their labor that if we could grow plants, I could teach them to grow themselves. And if we could grow a garden, we could also grow a community. And let me say that the community of that school was, it had been traditionally Black, but the school was roughly half Mexican, mostly Central American, and half Black, with a healthy dose of folks from Yemen and different, there was one kid from Uganda, another from Cameroon. And this garden that was on the back 40 of the school transformed the community. People were coming from so first, that was back when you couldn't leave anything out because everybody was collecting metal, right? Because there was no money. So people were stealing metal. The folks who were struggling in the community came to protect the garden because they saw the little kids sheep mulching, right? And working wheelbarrows and working together across culture, we had kindergartners who learned to work like men, right? Some of them came from, cultures where they were always working in the garden. So suddenly they had a new social stature among their peers for their ability to work and know the land, right? And so me and these kids grew this amazing, amazing garden that had anything you could think of growing in it in a pretty wild way, with a cob wall by Massey Burke, more than a few memorials to people who had died that thrived, a chicken coop. And we really did create a dream garden at an elementary school. And then 2020 came and the pandemic came. And one of the first things I learned is that these kids really have been working hard, because when the kids couldn't come, there was about 20 adults who we're like, we're just going to do it. And we broke quarantine and we worked in this garden. Talk about bringing a community together, right? I spent our Orange Sky Day, and pardon my dogs in the background who are just losing their minds on cue. When the pandemic happened, it was, I realized that what we've been doing, what Starhawk talks about in the 5th Sacred Thing, that come together was real. It was March 13th, 2020. OUSD closed down the schools without notice. We took the kids out into the garden. We stripped all our purple collard tree plants bare. Everybody had grocery bags of collard greens. And that's like giving Black folks money, right? That's our cultural crop. That's what we rely on to keep us healthy. And there were 4 herbs also growing at the time: mint, mullein, oregano, and plantain everywhere. And because of the work of respiratory drugs, right? because we'd been working with the kids about all this, they also knew how to propagate those purple collard trees. That all you got to do is snap off the top of the head, stick it back down the soil. You're going to get a whole new permaculture collard green tree. They knew that they could eat that oregano and even put it on pizza and it still be medicine. They knew how to make teas. They knew how to make tinctures, right? And they had appreciation for caring for their body, just like they knew the plants. And with that, we sent them home into the vast unknown of what the new world was going to be. And I laid down in those collard greens and cried and was feeling really fulfilled. Okay, if I die in the pandemic, I taught the little children, right? And the garden taught the little children. And it gave me a lot of solace. But it also taught me the importance of having mature gardens, tending that earth together, knowing one another's culture. The garden sets a stage for all of those things to happen. The test scores also went up. Their taste buds changed. Their parents began to talk to each other in ways they had never done before. And so I feel like I have lived, have helped cultivate, manifest, whatever word we want to put on it, the dream that Starhawk so scripted. And so I want to thank you for that. We're trying to replicate it in schools all over the place. And I would say that why support the diversity scholarships? I've never met anyone who does a better job of doing a deep level of diversity embedded in all that Earth activist training is than Starhawk and Charles and all the people that participate in that. To be able to put the social permaculture frame in as a structure for also what we grow as we take care of the land and as we take care of each other, right? Just even acknowledging everybody's pain. Thank you, Star. My ancestors are like, yes, right? It's so nice when people acknowledge. So I think we all got to stay at the work. I've got a bunch of little kids who prove that it can work. I'm going to share my screen really quickly and see if I can make it work. So you can see what those kids looked like in that picture there. Can you see it?
Yep, we can see it.
Yes. That is March 13th, 2020, the day that we were all terrified and going off into the unknown, thinking we're all going to die. Oh my God, oh my God. This is what those little kids faced and or how they faced it and what they looked like going into that. And that is our future, right? So it's worth doing, y'all. And let's support Star in helping us do it.
Thank you so much, Wanda. Wow, what a story. And
Yep.
this shows the incredible power and importance of doing this work. And the wonderful thing about regeneration is when you start, it regenerates and it builds. Um, I want to introduce you to another wonderful person. Her Met her when we were trying to get the Fifth Sacred Thing made into a film or a TV series. Um, and I met her and I was like, she has the name of two of the main characters in the book. Her name is Maya Lily. And she looks exactly like I picture Madrone. And she's an amazing filmmaker and media person and environmentalist. She's also been taking one of our courses. I wish I could say I taught her everything she knows, but it wouldn't be true. So Maya, and she's also an incredible actor, and she actually is the voice of the fifth sacred thing in the audiobook, and is the reader for it. So Maya, I think you've got a little something to show us.
Oh, thank you, Star. That's so amazing. I'm so happy to be here. Voicing the audiobook was one of the honors of my life. And it also was the one of the hardest things I've ever done. It took about an entire summer, like full, 12-hour days in this hot studio. We had to turn off the air conditioning. So I felt like I was, and if you listen to the audiobook all the way through, I start losing my voice at the very tail end. But what an amazing journey that was to like listen to it close up. It's still one of my favorite inspirations. So Charles is going to show you a little clip of something I've been working on. I've been telling frontline climate stories for the last 4 years with the Years Project, which is the team that did Years of Living Dangerously on Showtime and Nat Geo. It's climate focused, but my intention is always like how to serve communities, usually frontline BIPOC communities. And so what we do is we gift the videos, like Hollywood level storytelling, to the communities so that they can use it to like have call to actions, campaigns, fundraising, whatever they need. So this video that he's going to show you is we went to Molokai, which is 60% indigenous, Hawaiian, and it's like kind of the invite only island. And we basically were highlighting how Hawaii was the first state to have a 100% renewable energy mandate in the entire US. By 2045, they have to go 100% renewable, but the indigenous want to own a part of it. Like they don't want it to come from the utility. They want it to come from themselves, and they want the community to benefit from it. So this was a little snippet of the group that we highlighted.
We couldn't run a computer, a simple computer. And don't get sick and want to use the asthma machine because we're going to have to go drive to Auntie or Uncle's house. Every day it's challenging. We just learn to overcome it all.
The land, it never had any electricity. So I got a generator. So I used the generator all this time. It costs money. I just feel uncomfortable running a generator 8-9 hours a night just for lights.
We were right up the road and we just looked up and just saw a dark cloud. And I had a feeling when I looked at it that it was in our area. We had a black Labrador, a beautiful dog. Yep. I mean, super intelligent, and he was tied up on the cord to the tree, and it was right near the house, in front of it. That was a real, killer for me because we raised him from a little puppy, and that was our kid's first dog.
The fire inspector said whatever was on at the time probably tripped. And then with the propanes being there and gasoline, it just accelerated everything. By the time they put the fire out, everything was literally ashes. Well, with solar, what I'm most excited is being able to switch a light off and on. We never got to do that. Whenever we had to turn something on, we needed to put gas in a generator, check the oil, turn it on. If it doesn't work, just a lot of problem solving. But with a light, with the solar, all you gotta do is just turn it up. I mean, turning a light switch, as simple as that, take it for granted. But for us, it's a big deal.
I'm more excited about saving money.
True. Yes.
Okay, and I'm just gonna double check our voltage on our system. Okay. Oh, look at that, 110. We got solar coming off the roof. Yay! Thank you very much. How are you guys? Happening, man. Happening.
Oh, I'm feeling amazing. I mean, totally blessed, overwhelmed, and just grateful. That's the three words I've been using since we lost our home. So thank you so much.
So it was such an honor to work with this family. They really kind of treated us like family. And like if I can convey anything about this story, it's that utilities, energy companies they're not neutral companies. They lobby really fiercely for the fossil fuel industry. If you followed Florida Power and Light at all, what they've been doing, basically with like influencing elections for Republicans in Florida, it's pretty gnarly. So I would encourage everybody to push back on your utilities as much as possible, because they are trying to make money, and so they are fossil fuel companies. So I know just a little bit of time. Star asked me to give an update about Fifth Sacred Thing. And I just wanted to say that, the Fifth Sacred Thing was always ahead of its time. When I joined working on the project in like 2012, it was a film. And right away, I kind of influenced the group of producers that were working on it to possibly make it a TV show, because it was such a big world and streaming had just kind of taken off. So Netflix, Prime, Hulu, like, it just felt like the world was bigger. And we have been pitching it for quite a few years. We've pitched it to Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Participant, Lionsgate, have, a very big showrunner involved. And we've gotten a bunch of no's. It's not for lack of trying. Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu all said no, which is kind of astonishing because it's just, so many of the streamers are doing mediocre work that's not even like half as good as the story. But how I feel about it is we're just going to keep going until we get it done. There's definitely work in the background happening on it, but it just, it's very, very hard to make a TV show or a film these days. And we have a really great showrunner that's really acclaimed and has a big agent, and he's like fully behind the project. So, I hope to have like better news at some point, but it's still going. It's still ongoing.
Yeah.
And then James Cameron, yeah, that's a good idea. Whoever said that. And the last thing I'll say is something that's really important for storytelling in general that I find is lacking in activist and organizer movements is, a good story is about solving a problem. It's people confronting a problem. Stories are not about people talking about things. And I would encourage everybody, when you're storytelling, if you're storytelling, to just really look at it like any work of fiction, because documentary takes all the same elements and uses them.
Thank you, Maya. It's great to see, just really nice to see you, and so great to see the incredible work that you're doing at such a beautiful level. And so important to be telling these stories, because it's so important to give people hope and give people inspiration. So, and interesting that that was stories about Hawaii, because our next presenter lives in Hawaii. And I think, Charles, you have something to queue up from Christy Broadhead, who is one of our diversity scholarship students in our regenerative land management program, which is our multi-year, long-term advanced permaculture design and management program. She's also been one of our student teachers, and really wonderful. Can I encourage you all to mute because we're getting some background noise here.
That's all not working.
Sure
The
you're
volume is completely cut.
Northeast
Hear a
Force,
thing.
that's you. There we go. Great. Okay.
So first, I'm going to say Chrissy's going to present. She sent a recording in. She doesn't have great bandwidth, so she wasn't able to do a video. So it'll be a recording. So sit back and relax and enjoy the audio recording.
Okay, great.
Greetings and gratitude, Earth Activist Training, for your diversity scholarship offerings and opportunities to expand permaculture globally. O Chrissy Ko'ui Noa, speaking from Mokuokiave, Hawaiian Kingdom, where I am Kama'aina and non-Kanaka, upon which these lands and waters are still tended and preserved by Kanaka Uivi. I am using audio today since I live off-grid, and my work with Indigenous nations began in Abya with Nobe Bugle, my ancestral lands, in restoring food sovereignty practices for pregnant people and their kin that have been abandoned. And from there, word spread to other relatives in Guatemala, then Peru, the Caribbean islands, African nations in Morocco, Kenya, Ghana, and my work continued into the United States, Canada, and Indonesia. My main projects I'm involved in is food sovereignty surrounding traditional birth work, strengthening education centers for youth, elder care work, listening to the various needs the nation needed to sustain their health and well-being of all. The exchange of information given during these interactions has made humongous impacts for the environment and people alike. Presently, my home is a health center where there's a community food forest. It's a place where I give blood pressure and temperature readings, glucometer and proteinuria testing. It's a shelter for Native families for as long as they need to rejuvenate while learning traditional seed-to-table cooking. It's a place for elders and youth to learn from each other throughout the year with herbal remedies and sustainable building materials and practices. We have group prenatal gatherings, postpartum circles, a gynocentric center where teachings of pregnancy release and loss support, wisdom years support talks, first moon ceremony preparation, how to understand menstrual cycles and bodily care. I am constantly learning and listening and applying changes as they come. Having an education with Earth Activist Training really hones my skills into sharper practice to continue to serve the Indigenous nations of our vast planet. In the words of Carl Begay, praying for a mega huge rebirth of Native culture in all things, we need it. Mother Earth needs it. I now turn it over to Lila with her work in bioremediation and disaster relief.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you, Christy. And yes, Lila Darwish is another one of our wonderful students who got inspired around the work of bioremediation and wrote a book called Earth Repair on how to do home scale, repair and healing of the actual land and the toxins that are in it. And I'll let her tell you more. Take it away, Lila.
Awesome. Thank you, Star. And happy birthday. Happy early solstice to everybody, and it's a real honor to be with you all. I'm joining you from the unceded Coast Salish territories of the Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam First Nations in so-called Vancouver. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here. As Starhawk mentioned, I do work in bioremediation, and for folks who aren't familiar with that, that is working with things like fungi, plants, and bacteria to find ways to detox and regenerate land and water that's been contaminated by things like heavy metals and chemicals, and that have just been damaged by both like industrial kind of toxic legacies and also from disasters that come from things like climate change and oil spills and things like that. Um, I am very excited, like we are honoring like the fifth sacred thing, because a lot of my inspiration and kind of entry into permaculture came from reading that book. That book kind of led me to the back page that said, if you're interested, like there's this earth activist training, there was a website, and that's how I got into taking earth activist training, where I actually learned about microremediation, working with fungi to do kind of decontamination work. I learned about that through earth repair. So that was kind of like the seed that started my interest in bioremediation. So thank you to Starhawk for that. The work I do a lot of teaching. As Star said, I wrote a book called Earth Repair. I teach a class with Earth Activist Training, and we're going to be doing another one in the fall. So if you're interested in learning more about how you can work with plants and mushrooms and fungi to kind of bring back the land and the waters that we love so much, that is coming up. And I also, some of the work that really inspires me, when you do this kind of work, you get to meet cool people who are doing amazing things. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the folks in co-renewal who are doing really wonderful kind of bioremediation work in response to wildfires down in California. They've been working with fungi and really trying to find ways to protect watersheds in the aftermath of destructive fires that really kind of release a lot of heavy metals and kind of contaminants into the environment. So if anyone's interested, to look them up. There's some really great people who are doing that work. A project that I just started working on and I'm supporting, I actually wanted to bring it up because I think it kind of goes with a bit of the fifth sacred thing energy. I'm half Palestinian and half Jewish. And last year, a lovely farmer in Bethlehem reached out to me and is doing a project, a Palestinian farmer. He has a piece of kind of contaminated land. It's an urban kind of farm garden, and it's right at this corner where there's a lot of conflict and a lot of kind of fighting and skirmishes with the Israeli Defense Forces. And he has been dealing with all sorts of kind of things in terms of projectiles and gases and things kind of coming into his land and burning down his trees and his crops. And he really wants to do remediation on that land. And his name is Mohammed Saleh. And he reached out to me last year. And him and I have been kind of talking about what's possible in that kind of environment, what kind of contaminants, when you're in more of a war zone, what are you dealing with? And I think what's really beautiful about that is just one of his big inspirations is this idea of kind of bringing regeneration and beauty really like right at this intersection where there's kind of conflict, violence, and trauma, and really kind of using that as like a way to inspire and remind people and have hope. And so there's a lot of kind of projects like that, or people who are doing that kind of work, and it kind of keeps me going and inspires me. The other work I do, so I do bioremediation. That's kind of like my fun kind of stuff. And then my day-to-day work is disaster response and recovery. And, you know, I've worked for folks like City of New Orleans, City of Vancouver, different NGOs like World Central Kitchen. And one of the things from the fifth sacred thing that always kind of got me really excited was, again, that in those times of big darkness and, you know, people are really scared and things are going really bad, that idea of people coming together and really leading with courage and love and embodying a different way and refusing to kind of accept the limitations of a situation. And it's one of the things that in the work I do with disaster, I do a lot of work with communities that are being impacted by floods, by hurricanes, by fires. And I see it time and time again, kind of in these really dark times, people coming together and really kind of surging forward and taking care of each other. And you know, Wanda was talking about kind of during COVID feeding people, right? When I was working for the City of New Orleans, we had COVID hit really hard in that city, and the community response, there was such a massive response around keeping people fed and making sure that like our elders were safe and that people weren't getting evicted. And that's something that, again, the future is rocky. We're in climate chaos and it's kind of, it's accelerating in certain ways, but so is people's love and people coming together to kind of get over and kind of keep moving in kind of a way that reminds us that we have options. And that gives me a lot of inspiration. It's something I remember very strongly from the fifth sacred thing. So I wanted to thank you, Star, for writing that book, because it really did make a difference for me. And I really wish you a happy birthday and hope everybody has a good night.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for doing that work, and especially that work in Palestine, so close to my heart as well. I would love to join you there, but the Israelis don't often let me into the country anymore. But that's another. So um, now that I hope you're inspired by all of these amazing people who are making it real, let's just take a moment and close your eyes. And take some deep breaths. And I'd like you to just think for a moment about what's sacred to you. Sacred in that sense of what's most important. What is it you care about so deeply that you don't want to see any harm come to it? Something is sacred, it's something that you would take a stand for. You would take a risk for. And maybe just take a moment and acknowledge what that is and how much you care about it. And ask yourself now for a moment, what would the world be like? What would change if our whole society, our culture, our government, our economic system, all our ways of doing things were all centered around cherishing what's sacred to you? Take a breath and just imagine for a moment you could close your eyes and you could take a big jump and land in that world that cherishes what's sacred to you. And if you take a breath and look around you, where are you? Where are your feet? What does the air smell like? What are the sounds you hear around you? Look down at yourself. What do you look like and feel like? What kind of body do you have? And what kind of clothing do you wear, if any? And what's your home in this world? Who do you share it with? How do you provide what you need? Do you have a calling in this world? A work that you do, a way that you contribute to the community around you? What are some of your pleasures? Who takes care of the children in this world? And the old people? And the sick? What happens when there's conflict? How does that get resolved in this world? And what are some of your celebrations and rituals? And take a breath and let's just imagine together for a moment that it's summer solstice in this beautiful world that cherishes what is sacred to each one of us. And in the center of the community where we live, there's a great bonfire. And you take a breath and you can hold out your hands. You can feel its warmth. See the flames leaping up high. If there's anything you want to release and let go of, any carryover from the old world, from all the struggles in the world we live in today, anything you want to just let go of and transform, just take a breath and imagine you can throw it on to that solstice bonfire and let it go with a breath. And you can see people dancing around the fire, leaping, their bodies lit up by the flames. As you take a breath and you feel that release, let yourself imagine that you can draw in some of that flame, some of that energy from the fire, that you can take it in to nourish the seeds within you. That within you, the seeds of this vision lie just waiting to be planted. And that there is something each one of us can do, no matter who we are, no matter what we think our limitations are. There is some way in which each one of us can take the seeds of these dreams and plant them and make them real. Take a breath. We're going to sing you can join with us and raise some energy and imagine them dancing around that bonfire, and weaving that dance together, weaving our visions so it makes a beautiful tapestry. That vision, that picture of the world that is there within our power to create. That world in which so many of us are doing so much work every day to create, to make it real. We're weaving it, spinning it, like Rapunzel spinning straw into gold. Taking what this world offers and spinning it into the gold of that vision, to a world that cherishes what is truly sacred. Spin, weave and spin. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Join us. Weave and spin, weave and spin. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Weave and spin, weave and spin. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Weave and spin, weave and spin. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Stand by, stand, hand over hand, thread by thread, weave our web. Weave and spin, weave and spin. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Strand by strand. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Weave and spin, weave and spin. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Weave and spin, weave and spin, weave and spin. We are weavers, we are spinners. We each have the power to dream a good dream, a sacred dream, and make it real. And to take that dream and to make it real. Take the dream, make it real. Weave and spin. This is how our work begins. Mend and heal, mend and heal. Take the dream and make it real. Strand by strand, hand over hand, thread by thread, we weave our web. Take the dream and make it real. 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 you. Take a breath and just breathe in this energy, this power that we've raised together, and take it in. Take it in for your work. And know that whoever you are, you have a gift. You have a gift that you can bring to your community, to your people, whoever they are. Even if it's simply the gift of saying, this is what is sacred to me, this is what's important to me. And so take in the power and the energy, and if you need a little extra something, a little extra bit of luck, a little extra bit of magic, just a little extra bit of courage maybe, or inspiration, or the right connection, just breathe in that possibility. Take it in, ground it, and touch the earth, or somebody that's something that's touching the earth. And blessed be.
Blessed be.
And I truly believe that we are strongest when we know what we're fighting for and not just what we're fighting against. And when we have a vision and when we have hope. And I found it so inspiring, even though I know you all, right? And we put this together and I knew the work you're doing, but just hearing it and hearing one after the other really opened my heart today. And I spent too much of the day listening to pundits talk about our current political situation, and it's dire, and there's so many voices out there just pushing hate and pushing fear and trying to tell us that diversity is something that somehow is going to take something away from us or make us less. And I think one of the most powerful things we can do to counter that is to actually create these spaces where people can come together from all of these different backgrounds who are doing such incredible work in so many different places, and honor that and lift that up, because it does give people hope and it does give people the inspiration to do it and to do it together. And that is what we try to do in Earth Activist Training. That's why we have fundraised this year for so many different things. We have been, for the last 2 years, besides raising money for our organization and our diversity scholarships, we've been raising money to help a group of Afghan refugees who were doing community work and permaculture, like so many of the people we heard today, and who had to flee for their lives when the Taliban took over. And it has been a long and challenging process, but in the last few months, we've been able to get places for many of them in Portugal, and some of our dearest friends are now in a safe place and a new community. And there's another opportunity that's opened up for people to go to Spain. So we're continuing to raise funds for that. And I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who has donated, because it has saved lives and it has made a huge difference. We've been able to offer diversity scholarships to our online trainings and support communities from Jamaica to, we have a current student who's part of a group of Black Jews in Uganda that I didn't even know existed, who tunes in at the crack of dawn, and you can hear the roosters in the village every time he's online. It's allowed us, now that things are opening up and we're doing in-person courses again, it has allowed us to offer in-person scholarships again to our trainings, and we are working at building the capacity to offer more and more of our diversity scholarships for our longer term program so that we can really help nurture communities and nurture the leadership to bring these tools and these skills to the communities that are really on those front lines of ecological and environmental justice struggles. So we are really thankful for all of you joining us tonight and for donating. And we encourage you, if you want to donate some more and have a little more to give, um, please go to Earth Activist Training, check our donate button, and we can definitely put it to good use. We're also launching tonight a silent auction. And Charles will put the link in our chat where we have all kinds of wonderful prizes and things that you can get. For example, you could get me,
Yes.
well, you could get me giving you a walking tour of some of the places in San Francisco that inspired scenes in the Fifth Sacred Thing, and then lunch in my garden, um, and which is in the house that is sort of the model for the house in the Fifth Sacred Thing. You could get my wonderful housemate artist, Victoria Scott, who's become a beekeeper, to do a little beekeeping lesson with the bees we have in our backyard, and I'll lead you on a bee trance because the bees are very prominent in the Fifth Sacred Thing. We have some wonderful stays at bed and breakfasts in different places and wonderful places around the country, and some amazing um, herbal products and tarot readings and all kinds of things. So check out the silent auction, and you can help us by bidding on stuff. You can also help us by spreading the word and letting your friends know and letting other people know about that, and helping us to raise the funds we need to continue our work and to support the work of diversifying uh, the regenerative movement and bringing these skills and tools to the communities that most need it. So,
And before you go on from that, just so people know, the auction has a bunch of items right up now, and there's a few more that are being posted in the next few days. So if you look at the auction today, feel free to look at it in a few more days and see what has arrived. There's more things to come.
Yeah.
yeah, people are being amazingly generous. It's exciting. So we want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Spirit, and thank you to the ancestors, the descendants, and the solstice energy itself. I want to say thank you to all of our wonderful presenters and for all of the incredible work that you're doing. And to Charles for not only being inspiring, but for doing all the tech for this session and setting it all up and organizing it. To our whole Earth Activist team, to Elizabeth Call, who does all of our social media stuff and graphics, and to Mariah Masters, who works with our students, and Sunshine Claymore, who coordinates our regenerative land management program, our long-term program, and Allie Galaxy, who does my social media and helps us out at Earth Activist Training. And we need all of you, and you are an amazing team. I want to say a big thank you to Sarah Comerford, our amazing interpreter, for the beautiful artistry of what you do and for hanging in there all by yourself for such a long time tonight. And to Emily for your beautiful voice and your music and creativity. It's
Well,
wonderful.
Well, thanks to my mother, Divinia, Divine Mother on Earth.
And we're going to thank the elements with song. This was I wrote the lyrics in The Fifth Sacred Thing, and my dear friend Ann Hill put it to music.
When we are gone, they will remain. Wind and rock, fire and rain, they will remain when we return. The wind will blow and the fire will burn when we are gone. They will remain. Wind and rock, fire and rain, they will remain. When we return. The wind will blow. And the fire will burn. When we are gone, they will remain. Wind and rock, fire and rain, they will remain. Oh, when we return, the wind will blow and the fire will burn. The wind will blow and the fire will burn. The wind will blow and the fire will burn. Hail and farewell. Hail and farewell. Thank you. And yes, as Charles has just put into the chat, we have some wonderful courses coming up, including an in-person course in an amazing place, our Eco Village up in British Columbia on Vancouver Island. It starts June 30th through July 14th. You can come take it in person for 2 weeks and get a permaculture design certificate. But we've also decided to open up the first weekend as an intro to permaculture that you can also take online. So check out the link. It's on our webpage or at our Eco Village, and would love to see some of you there. We have another in-person course happening in Germany in August for 2 weeks in a wonderful place north of Berlin. And we've got a lot of wonderful online stuff happening throughout the summer and again in the fall. We'll have an online PDC in the fall, and we'll have a social permaculture course. And Charles is going to be teaching a permaculture infrastructure course, and Lila's going to be teaching bioremediation and just all kinds of wonderful and amazing things. So love to see you at any or all of those. Please help us spread the word. And thank you so much for coming tonight. And thank you, Starhawk, for everything that you do.
Oh, thank you, Evelyn, for your beautiful voice. And
Happy
Charles,
birthday.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy
Happy
birthday! Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday
Day to you.
Happy birthday.
Day to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
to you.
well,
Yay. To you we sing.
happy to have another birthday and another year of life. Yes. Charles, you want to open our circle?
Yeah. So I just invite everybody to reach out and grab a piece of that circle we put out And bring it back in, just draw it back in. Bring it back into our hearts, and we'll hold that to the next time we gather. Circle is open but unbroken. Meet and merry part, and merry meet again.